This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible.
Hello and welcome to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. So today I want to talk you through exactly why, as a content creator, you need to be thinking about your KPIs, your key performance indicators. And the reason that I've been thinking about this is because I am slap bang in the middle of creating a whole new section for the podcast membership, which is all about how to monetize your show. So whether you are an established podcaster or you've been going for years, but you've not really thought about the monetization part of it, whether that's through sponsorship, affiliations, or promoting your own goods and services, then I am in the middle of creating something especially for you. So if you want to know about that and get in before the price goes up, you can then sign up at www.thepodcastmembership.com. I promise you that if you have a podcast that you are putting out into the world week after week, you want to make sure you are monetizing it in some way. So on with the show today, let's talk about those key performance indicators.
In this episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible, I want to touch on why it's so important that you manage your KPIs, that you are aware of your KPIs, your key performance indicators. So I'm talking here about tracking what's going on in your business, having a full awareness of what's going on in your business. And for all the content that you put out there, making sure that every time you put out a video, a Facebook Live, an offer or a podcast, you are thinking about all of your content in terms of 1, value, but 2, client acquisition, revenue, and list growth. These things are really important. So what I'm talking about here is being really strategic in whatever you put out there, whatever quality content you are putting out into the world, making sure you are thinking all the time about how will this help me build my business? How am I drawing people towards me, either financially or somewhere into my funnel? And I think lots of people miss this key step. They're thinking, I've got to constantly be posting on social media. I've got to get those podcasts out there. And yes, you do need to lead with value. But if you stop to think about where am I driving people towards and how is this actually going to benefit my business, then it means you can monetize all of your content. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a sale on each of your content pieces. It just means that you are thinking about how I bring people into your list, how you bring people really into your business. And that might be a longer term strategy with nurture sequences and warm up sequences behind the scenes that happen once they're in your list. But you've got to think you are running a business. And so, yes, lead with value. Yes, you want to demonstrate your expertise. And I think this is so important. And I talk a lot about getting visible and building your credibility. But you do need to have that business head on your shoulders. So whenever I am creating a podcast now, I always think, what resources could I be leading people towards that are free resources that I've already created that perhaps have an opt-in attached to them? What blog piece can I point them towards? What extra free resource that is already on my website, that is content I already own, assets I've already created that I can be mentioning to keep them with me in my world, in my social media bubble, in my website bubble, so that they know, like, and trust me even more, so I can build that relationship. Because if you're stopping to think about those potentially 22 to 32 touch points where someone needs to be aware of you before they even start to want to take action, to purchase from you, to follow you, to do business with you in some way, then you've got to start thinking, how am I doing that? Be conscious of it, be deliberate, be strategic. This is so important. So if you're not tracking on a weekly or daily basis, I highly recommend that you create yourself a very simple spreadsheet or use a notebook. That's actually the way I prefer to do it. I track my numbers every single Sunday morning. I will look at what my Facebook page followers are. I will look at how many Facebook friends I have grown within my industry, because you can have up to 5,000. So why wouldn't you be deliberately connecting and reaching out to other people who are relevant to you? I look at my LinkedIn figures. I look at how many people are in my free Facebook group, Entrepreneurs Get Visible community, which if you're not there, you should absolutely head over there. It's a free community full of other people who are speakers, coaches, experts in their field and aspiring leaders within their industries. So you should definitely go and find that free Facebook group. I'm also looking at my Instagram figures, how many people I'm connected with. I'm looking then, I do track reach and engagement. I do look at those things as well. But the first thing I do is get those figures about my audience size. I look at LinkedIn, and not only do I get the current figures for each of these, but then I also look at what that growth has been. So what did I get last week? What was my final figure last week? And how much have I grown this week? Because I think that if you're not tracking, you really won't take that consistency to grow and the effort and energy that it takes to grow. I also look at my podcast download figures for the week and my totals. I look at how many people have bought my book. I look at how many people have bought my audio book. I look at things that who's gone to my shop to buy my audio tracks, and there are various places that those are available. I'm very aware of how many members I have, how many I might have lost from either of my memberships, either the Get Visible Club or the podcast membership. So I'm aware constantly, and I have this every single week of what those natural attrition rates are. So I know then what's working, what isn't. I know where I need to put my energy. These things make such a difference. You have to track. And these are just the numbers, the metrics behind the scenes. I'm also then looking at my income, so what sales I've made, and actually then those sales are potentially future income, but also, so if someone has a split payment or paying me in installments, but I'm also looking at what is the actual money that has come into my bank account. What is that figure for that week? And where did that come from? Which particular products and services brought me that revenue, brought me that income? I'm also tracking my expenses, and I highly recommend that you start to look at where all your money leaks are. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to Catherine Morgan from In Her Financial Shoes podcast. She has a brilliant 5-day challenge that is called Plug Your Money Leaks, and it is fantastic for anyone who just knows they need to get on top of their finances and get their head in their game about what they're doing from either a personal or a business perspective. So I'll be letting Catherine know I've given her a shout out, but you should definitely go and find her and find out about that challenge. It'll really get you in this practice of looking at your metrics every single week. So once I've got all that information, I have a much healthier overview of what's going on for me. So I can then become aware, okay, my list isn't as big as I wanted it to be. So that has to be my focus for the next few pieces of content that I put out there. So what lead magnet am I going to talk about on my show? What can I make sure comes up in discussion? And I actually keep a Google sheet of all of the free resources that I've created. So blogs, videos, Facebook Lives, articles on LinkedIn, podcast episodes even, and what they are all about, so that when I'm going into an interview or I'm creating my own podcast content, I can think, well, I've got all of these resources here. Which ones might be relevant to the topic I'm talking about today? So either during the conversation that I'm having or at the end of the episode, I can just point people to the right direction if they want to learn more or have more of my expertise or experience. And that is really useful because you are then guiding people to stay with your content. So whatever you're creating, first of all, the first hurdle with visibility is making sure that you are out there and you are visible and you are creating on a regular basis. However, you then need to take it a step further and think about client acquisition. Am I making it clear how people can work with me and the best ways to get in touch? Am I making it clear that people can join my list, can get my freebies, can get my opt-ins? And finally, am I being clear that there are ways people can pay me for my services? Am I driving sales? Am I driving revenue? So I hope that that's really helped in terms of thinking about tracking your numbers. This has transformed everything for me, how I think about my content, how I think about my podcast. And not everything has to be hard sales. It's okay to sell, you're in business, but not everything has to be a hard sale. But you do want to make sure that you are always driving people towards these 3 things, your 3 key performance indicators: your revenue, your client acquisition, and your list growth.
If you are regularly creating content, then you need to make sure that you are making the most of it. You are making the most of those opportunities. And that's one of the things in my new content over in the podcastmembership.com that you can find out all about to make sure you are strategizing every piece of content that you put out into the world. Because if you know that you're creating great content, why not make sure that it is working for you and for your business? So head on over to www.thepodcastmembership.com.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to annaparkernaples.co.uk/get visible.